This evening, ladies and gentlemen, we are here on WVON, the forum, and it's entitled Trouble in Our House. We have so many young men who are dying senselessly. We have so much plight that's going on in our communities that we really don't know which way to turn. As I look at the audience right now, and I mean literally, I see a vast, it's vast. From businessmen, Masons and Elks, veterans, young folks, community activists, entrepreneurs, professionals, and everybody is sitting around the table trying to figure out what has gone wrong in our community. We hear and we see on television the senseless violence that continues to plague our community, but we don't have all of the answers. Here at WVON, we get folks call in all the time. Well, this is what needs to happen, Kendall. We need to, every young folk person who does it needs to be killed. Now, I'm not necessarily sure that I agree with that all the time. I'm not necessarily sure that every young African-American male who wears braids and his pants may be sagging off his butt, it doesn't necessarily make him a thug. I'm not sure that I agree with that. I'm not necessarily sure that I agree with every person who actually has a strike on their back is a thug and needs to be thrown away. I'm not necessarily sure that it's just one person's problem. And so I want to paint the picture for everyone this evening with this group. The community responsibility. We're always pointing our fingers. It's Rahm Emanuel's fault. Before it was Rahm Emanuel's fault, it was Mayor Daley's fault. Before it became McCarthy's fault, it was Jody Weiss's fault. And as soon as we start telling people to put mirrors up against their own face and ask what are they doing in their households, then it shuts your mouth. As soon as we start saying, well, what are you doing when you walk past that young man and you see him smoking weed and you don't say anything? Or when you see a young lady talking out of the side of her neck, not the King's English, what do you do? Community responsibility, the corner stores. I'm going to tell you the truth. They're selling guns out of the stores in our community. I don't know. I'm not a police officer. How is it that I have this information and the police are not shutting these stores down? So where are our aldermen? Where are our local politicians who need to be addressing these concerns in our community? Where's the community response? But if the community is not opening their mouths and all that we're doing is giving lip service to the problems that are plaguing us, then the things are going to continue to happen and proceed the way that they are.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for having me, and I want to thank the WVON family for being here, tuning into this discussion. I do believe that we do have community responsibility, and we have resources in our community in which to work with. However, what I've been thinking about today as I read the paper and read that Mayor Emanuel is giving $4.5 million going toward trying to heal some of the things that are going on in our community. You know, I've always been taught, follow the money. Where's the money going and where's the money coming from? And when I looked at how this $4.5 million was being broke down, it's $2 million of it is going to a program called BAM, Becoming a Man. So I said, okay, I've never heard of the BAM program. So I looked it up. The program comes from the University of Chicago's Crime Lab and had already been given $1 million a year from the University of Chicago's Crime Lab. So I'm saying, why is $2 million going to one program instead of being divvied up with other programs that we know work, like Black Star Project, like Pastor Phil Jackson, like Father Flager, like Rage Inglewood, like Bronzeville Youth Consortium, like FLY over in the 20th Ward, the Fearless Leaders of the Youth, which is a youth program? Why can't each program that we know shows data to work in our community be given $100,000 and we can attack it in a multi-pronged way? Why do we give $2 million to one program headed by a white man named Tony DiVittorio? Now, I don't have a problem with white people. I love Father Flager. I see him out on the street every Friday night, but I don't see Tony DiVittorio. I don't know the man, never seen him a day. I never heard of BAM before the $2 million was being allocated. So we have to have control as we talk about solutions. We have to have a consortium of organizations that come together and don't just work for my grant in arts, my grant in incarceration programs, my grant in job training. We need all of those different organizations to bring their leaders together and say, when money is going to be allocated to our communities, we have to have a say-so on where that money goes. You can't just give it out to who you want to give it out to if we don't know who they are.
Homicides in Chicago need to be dealt with by the people. We need to call, I would love to call the ultimate sacrifice for peace. We need to get about 1,000 known shooters from Chicago, take them to a facility for 24 hours and work with them brothers, get Brother Enoch to the table, Ryan Fest, Nooney, all of us, the Urban League, and roll our sleeves up, communicate with these brothers and see what's really gonna take to get the violence down. We had a bad year in 2012, and everybody has to take responsibility for that, not just one person. And last but not least, Brother Kendall, we've lost a meaningful relationship with our youth. You can't blame that on nobody else. The elephant in the room right now is the violence in the African-American community. 70% of the homicides are black-on-black homicides. So we got an issue with our people, and no matter how we come here today and talk good talk, our staff are out on the streets when guys are pulling out guns. I had a guy that told me he'd put me to sleep if I keep meddling in his business. And I had to save the life of an 18-year-old. I don't know nobody else that's doing that kind of work. I just want to say that because I asked the guy again, I say, what did you say? He said, you heard me, I put you to sleep if you keep meddling in my business. I'm still here today, the 18-year-old guy is doing pretty good. And while I was mediating this conflict, I had my suit on. Can you believe that? You hear me going right to the people because I know everybody, and I followed up with this 18-year-old guy, and then quickly I had a grandmother that called me because a guy shot her windows out trying to kill her grandsons on the west side of Chicago. Then the guy came back and burnt up her van, and when we went to talk to the alleged shooter, he said he wasn't going to listen to nobody. We had to go to the deep streets to get somebody he would listen to, and as an end result, her grandson's life was saved. I can't make these stories up. This is real business, and I don't have time here to talk about everything we've done, but the reality of, if you come to me, 9 times out of 10, we're going to try to work it out, and if I cannot work it out, I'm going to connect with somebody that might be able to work it out. Amen. That's the only thing I got to say, my brothers and sisters.
So a couple things. First of all, thank you, Kendall, for mentioning that we are actually doing a lot in the community. Can we do more? Absolutely. Today was looking at some statistics. Of the people we do with workforce, only 12% of them have a high school diploma. So for those of you who think we're dealing with accomplished people, we work with ex-offenders to help them find jobs. We work with some of the most at-risk youth to mentor and keep them in school. So the idea that we're only working with middle class or upper middle class is a mistake. So, but can we do more and should we be? Yes, but I think the issue here is how much time we spend undercutting and not supporting the institutions that are doing work and the organizations. So there's a couple themes that I heard here that are important. We need to work, first of all, it starts with us. There are some big ticket issues that we have to address that Rhymefest talked about, that we need more economic opportunity, we need more jobs, we have to fix our schools. So let me say that one more time. We have to fix our schools. We have been, for decades, undereducating our kids. The dropout rate in our communities is still at 46%. The kids that are graduating, many of them, depending on where they graduate from, don't have the skill sets that they need to go where they need to go. So we have to fix our schools. We have to create more jobs. But we also have to look at our own community and own up to what we need to do. We do need to love our children. These are our children. These are our children that are shooting up the streets, and we do need to love them, and we do need to help them and support them. And there are many programs in the community out there doing that work. But we have to come together and we have to say that this is unacceptable. We have to decide. We have to decide that we are not going to let this happen in our community. And every single person has to say, what am I going to do today, tomorrow, to take back my community? Who am I going to support? Who am I going to help? What young man or young woman am I going to point in the right direction of a program? Who am I going to mentor? Who am I going to ensure that goes to school? What am I going to do in my own house to make sure that my children are getting an education, are understanding what's right and wrong, aren't going to be in the streets? And for those organizations that are working with the young men that are already in trouble and struggling, we need to support them like ceasefire. So I just think there's a lot of things here that we've heard, and I think we have to think big ticket, fight for economic opportunity and for better education, but we also have to turn around and look at ourselves and start fixing our own community.
You know, I've been sitting here and I've been listening. And I'm gonna just say this here. As a pastor and as a police officer, people say, how can you do both of those jobs? You know, how can you be a pastor and a police? And I tell them, I say, well, first of all, God gave me both of those jobs. We as an African-American community have lost respect for our community. We've lost respect for one another. We don't know how to live together. We don't know how to love one another. If we stop being disrespectful to ourselves, we can stop everybody else from disrespecting us. We allow everybody to come into our community and take our community. We allow everybody in our community to come and do what they want in our community, but we don't want to take ownership of our own community. That's why our kids are lost out here. They have no resources like we had when we were growing up. They have no family structure like we had when we were growing up. Families are afraid of the kids they gave birth to and raised. We got to stop being afraid and start standing up and start being who God called us to be. He called us to be a strong race. We're losing it because of our inability to stand up to those that are trying to take over our neighborhood. Those guns wasn't made in our own community. The drugs just wasn't grown in our community. Those things were brought into our community for our kids to begin to become contaminated, and the slave mentality that was brought into our generations is still in existence today. But as black men, we need to stand up and stop being afraid of our kids, start standing on these corners with these kids, and start telling them what's right and what's wrong. Quit being afraid of them.
I realize that when we put folks in the box and not afford them the opportunity to be rehabilitated and or changed, then they're forever doomed. You know how many guys in the Nation of Islam are former gang members? How many guys who used to gang bang who have turned their lives around, whether they want to call themselves gang bangers or not, whether they want to be, used to be drug dealers or not. So who's the better one? Who's the better of us? Those who have done been corporate thieves and been write grants and we steal money out of the community and it never gets back? Who's worse?
What about the top?
So, and I turn that question over to you, Brother Harold Ward, because, you know, some folks have problems.
What you think our government is? That's the biggest gang in the world. FBI, that's the biggest gang in the world. This is what we have a problem with, because people say, well, they gang makers back and forth. They've been doing it themselves. Okay, the so-called not gang bangers, so-called people taking care of their business right. That's why we still got 500 murders and more. Now, ain't no gang bangers. They ain't go to them people. They ain't go to the street people back and forth. It's a street problem. It's a street problem because it started from up top. They created a street problem. This is about design. All this stuff is about design. We know what we're doing. They're using these kids as pawns. Let me tell you something. If you believe, Hitler said this, and I don't care what the people say, create a lie and make it big enough for them to believe it. And we've been believing this junk for years. And every time you want to look at the kid and tell the kid, well, stop selling drugs, stop doing this, okay, I'm going to stop. What you going to replace it with? My father in jail, my mama prostitute, my sister 13, I'm 16, I got a little boy, a little brother, at least 5 years old. How you going to eat? Explain it to me. Talk to me. Tell me what he going to do. You keep telling them, well, we gang over here. They do as they've been taught. The people before, and I'm going to say this, when them kids died, every Negro preacher should have hit the street. Not the congregation. It's enough Negro preachers out here for us to hit the street. We're not going to play no games with this here. I ain't come up to play no games. The solution is they need jobs. First of all, you tell the kids to stop, take this after-school program. Now you want to take the school away. Damn, what's next? And you want them to be a law-abiding citizen? How is that? But then you say, well, you could do this, you could do that. You can't do it. You've been doing it. Okay, if they out in the street gang banging, as you say, I call it street organization. Well, they're going to listen to the people who call the shots. You ain't the people who call the shots. Not in the community. It's the people locked up. It's the people that so-called, you call gang chiefs and back and forth. Call them what you want to call them. Call them what you meant. They got the solution.
And I'm not condoning that, but they're not listening to the pastor. They're not listening to their mother, their father. That's why we got the problem. And my thing is this. If we really want to help them, stop being scared of them. You keep talking about you ain't scared of Ku Klux Klan, but you scared of black men, kids. They're my kids, they're my babies. They need help. Show them some love.
Nooney G, give me a closing statement, please.
Let me say this one thing. We love our kids, and we gotta show we love our kids. But we gotta stop falling for the okie doke. What I mean by that is this. What I mean by design. Let me give y'all a perfect example. You remember that boy, the two little kids that started off in Calabar? They did the killing in Calabar? Yeah. And you know the same, okay, his father, okay. Now the guy that did the killing in Connecticut, do you know him and his father, both of the two fathers, on trial together? Coincidence? No. You know the one of Calabar father created FICA scores? Oh yeah. You go try. You know the other ones had a general elected? All that stuff is the overlay for the underplay. When something they want to squeeze in back and forth, they use something to throw off. Like check this out. Let me give you another perfect example. What I'm telling you about now. Every so often, we keep getting one of these things. It was the little girl just now. Then before that, it was the boy from Finger. You know what I'm saying? Then before that, it was Blair Hall, whatever his name, Okay, Blair Hall. We keep doing that. Overlay for other players. We keep throwing each other off for what the really factor is. We need to stand up and say, look, enough is enough. Y'all playing games. We know it's Okadoke, but we believe whatever the press say. Whatever the press say, love your kids. Show your kids love and show them that they can be men. We can do what we need to do. It ain't too late. I'm with him. It's not too late. But everything that go down, we got to look. It's something in it. Ain't nothing going on in the United States. It's not by design.
Brother Nooney, we're getting ready to close out. Thank you so very much. Listen, I have to ask the rest of the panelists if we can limit our comments to 60 seconds. And again, I certainly appreciate it. We got to roll. Brother Ramfest.
You know, in closing, my solutions, combining the community organizations that we know work, knowing where the allocation of resources are going and how those resources are going to be allocated throughout the community, holding our local media radio stations responsible and accountable for what they disseminate to our youth, loving ourselves, each other, and our children.
Brother Wooten?
Okay, I just want to, you know, I mean, this is a real serious, you know, thing to me. You know, when we look at our community, and we see our community just fading away. You know, everyone has an accountability in our community. We have to stand up. We have to fight for what's right in our community. We have to stop giving away what we worked so hard for. Our ancestors will be rolling in their graves right now if they saw how we were living. You know, we got to hold these political officials, you know, accountable. You know, we got to stop. They got to stop playing political gain to obtain political gain on our behalf. Okay, they got to start working on our behalf and not their behalf. Then we also have to actually begin to restore value back into our community. Restore value back into our community so that we can actually begin to build our community. And we're going to do that by unity.
Thank you, Brother Wooten. We got to hold it there. Brother Hardiman.
Only thing I want to say is it's time to get busy, and I think we talked enough tonight. I want to thank WVON, but anybody wants to get in contact with me about the ultimate sacrifice for peace, that's what's going on with me right now. It's about action.
Thank you for that. And we will leave the last word with you.
I agree with something your brother Butter said. We have to learn how to respect ourselves and each other, and we have to ask each other. It's our community, so the question you have to walk out of here is, what am I going to do? What will we do, each and every one of us, to take our community back?
Andrea Zook, thank you very much. To all of my distinguished panelists and guests, thank you all for the tremendous work that you're doing. To all of the folks who actually came out, thank you all so very much.